everybody, and welcome to Bugbear's Basement. And today we're going to be talking about Quasar, one of Duel's favorites, and we're going to get into that a little bit later, of course. But before we do that, we have all our news and various other things going on. Just keep in mind that we ask you guys all to check out our links, and not only for the links for me on Facebook and Twitter, which you can get a hold of me and ask to be on the show, or if you want to be on Fan Edition, but also to go over to our Fan Speak page on Facebook and join in. Um, Nice to see we get a few people in here already. Guys, just do us a favor and go ahead and hit that share button and let everybody know what we're doing over here so they can come and join us. And had a little bit of mic kerfuffle earlier, so just let me know how I sound over here, guys. And for some
You sound
reason,
a little bit muttery. Like, are you sick? Are you dying on me? Not
not at
dying on
all,
me, are you, Chester?
not at all. I
Because
think
if you are, that would annoy me.
it wouldn't. I get that. Thank you for all the love that I can feel coming from that as well. But I'm not getting my jump up over here. But everything is going through, so it looks like it's fine. So I'll have to adjust this a little bit, exactly how I'm presenting it. But anyway, looks like you guys can hear me just fine. Everything's coming through just fine. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
good, good, good. So let's come over and say hello to our panel as we usually do. How you doing today, DeWolf?
Hey, doing pretty good and pretty psyched up about today, of course,
hmm Well, we're
Yep.
finally talking about Quasar, right?
Yeah, of course. And I want to do some homework, a little bit. I didn't want to jump into Quasar, being one of my favorite characters. I wanted to make sure I had some homework and some good background to give everybody, before we just leapt into say an easy origin story. So we've got a non-origin, one of the more more strange stories of Quasar, and hopefully it'll be interesting.
Mm. It is a bit strange, but I think it's par for the course when it comes to Quasar. I do see a couple people over here in the chat. Just let us know how we're sounding and coming through, guys. Hopefully everything is fine. But we are going to be jumping into the news fairly soon. But let's come over here and say hello to Booster. How you doing down there in New Zealand, my friend?
It's bloody cold today.
Cold.
I know it was
Really?
hot just the other day, but now it's freezing. It's been raining for the last couple of days. It's miserable,
Well, that's odd
and I have
because
a sniffle, so I'm grumpy.
you're grumpy. Okay, well,
I'm very grumpy.
we don't want grumpy Booster. That's for sure.
No. Grr.
No grumpiness. But still not getting any response over here from the chat. I'm just wondering what's going on over here. Um, I think they can hear us.
Well,
Let me open
they
this
are
up.
hailing things.
They are hailing. They are starting to say things. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll
Mm-hmm.
just go with it until someone says something otherwise. But all right, thank you, Boostner. And of course, we also have Denali with us. How you doing today, Denali? Earth to Denali.
Fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
Fantastic.
Well, that was just wonderful. Um, I think I figured out what I got going on over here. It's almost as if it's cycling through. Oh, I see what it's doing. All right. Well, anyway, let's continue with that. I can hear you. You just sound tired. Okay. Well, I will just speak at my normal volume and, to hell with my eardrums, I guess. So
Who needs eardrums?
who needs eardrums? But we're going to go ahead today, and we're going to jump right into our news. And we do have some interesting things. So let me come over here and switch this over. And the first thing actually is news that I put up. This is not from Denali, as usual. And I have a little bit of a rant I think I'm going to start out with, if you guys don't mind.
Do it.
Go ahead.
As long as it's a good, righteous rant.
It is a good righteous rant because people are stupid. So let's demonstrate the stupidity of peoples. All right. Now we look at this little article right here, and it says Internet erupts after a report indicates Lady Gaga and Angelina Jolie considered for Cleopatra role.
Erupts! This outrage!
It's outrageous, right? And we get some of these little things right here. Cleopatra was Greek, lol. And then Nick Holmes, he's a very angry black man, so maybe Booster can do his very best angry black man. Go ahead.
My best angry black man are Cracker. Cleopatra was a Greek descent, just like my black ass is of Africa, Italian, Native American, and Mexican descent. At the end of the day, Cleopatra was an African Egyptian queen and shouldn't be portrayed by a white woman. Period. I said what I said. End of discussion.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Nick
I
Holmes
hope that was
McGowan.
I hope that was offensive enough for you.
Oh, I really did. All the women of color busy. Stop albinism killings. Okay. Cleopatra was biracial, so I'm asking the same thing. There are plenty of brown actresses, and etc. Ooh, we need Beyonce. They just go on forever about stupidity, and a few people actually go in and then mock them a little bit, and they're being sarcastic and dumb, 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 dumb. This one was actually pretty funny right here. Idris Elba should play
Ooh,
Cleopatra,
go
and
back
if
to
you
Blake
disagree,
Northcott.
you're racist and transphobic. Okay, well, thank you, Alum Bakari. Of course, he's being sarcastic, I think. But here's the thing. You're all a bunch of morons, all of you. First of all, we know exactly who Cleopatra was. She's a Ptolemy, and her line goes all the way back to the great general Ptolemy with Alexandra. We know who the Greeks and the Minoans and all those other people are, especially the royalty. They are Hyksos, which what do we call the Hyksos today? Jews.
Jewish.
Yeah, we know exactly what she looked like and who she was. We know exactly. And matter of fact, let's come over here and take a look at Cleopatra. Oh, there you go. There's Cleopatra.
Oh,
She's not an
oh,
African queen.
you can't mistake that nose.
No, you can't. And you know what?
The nose knows.
Angelina Jolie is far too exotic to play Cleopatra. Now, I have no idea if Lady Gaga can actually act, but this is what she looks like. Hmm. Let's go back.
Wow, yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Not bad.
Mm,
It's pretty close.
that that is
I'm not
pretty
a I'm
close.
not a
Yeah.
Gaga fan, but that's a striking resemblance, and
Yeah.
I
More,
think that
more, more, more.
But I'm just saying, how
Carry my
dumb can
shame
you be?
in
This,
my
this
poker face.
you don't have to be a history major to know these things. A simple search on YouTube, excuse me, on the internet, the simplest search is going to show you a ton of pictures and a ton of information about her. We know a lot about Cleopatra. We know exactly who she was and what she did. She was a murderous, hateful, greedy, greedy woman. We know exactly what she was. She murdered her own brother. She tried to murder her sister. She was a horrible human being, right? But we also know she basically looked like a Jew because that's what she is. The Greek royals were Jews or Hyksos, at the time, or that's what they call themselves. But nevertheless, it's just you see these things on the internet all the time, and it's just come on, man, just do a little bit of research just for a second before you open your mouth and say the dumbest things ever.
unfortunately, Chester, they're not considered the dumbest things ever to them and the rest of their audience because they don't know any better and they're not going to do the research.
Obviously
Yeah,
not.
they're offended that you have to tell them to do research.
Yes, the sheer fact that you're going to even go to the possibility that she may be descendant of this person, that person, and the other person, to say then that, of course, she is the type of person that she is, which is the honest truth. That's wrong of you to do so
Well, it goes even deeper
in
than
their
that.
bizarre world.
They keep going on. What was that? What is it called? The "We Was Kings" kind of thing that I see on the internet. And here's the deal. There was a period in the modern understanding of Egypt. Now, ancient Egypt, I mean, truly ancient Egypt, which we don't know a lot about. Who knows? But during the time we have records for, we do know that there was a period of about 110 years where the what we would call Sudan, the Sudanese kings were ruling the area. Therefore, they would be pharaohs because they were in charge. So it was about 110 years, and those guys are Sudanese. They're full on black, and they ruled Egypt for about that for over a century, right? Other than that, we know exactly who was ruling and what they looked like. And I do apologize to the black people, but they were not blacks. Now, this is Africa, so of course there was black people involved. Matter of fact, if you read the all the ancient things of Egypt, it tells us very clearly there was 42 races who lived in the cosmopolitan state that was Kemet. So there were a lot of people. Of course, there were many blacks as well. Matter of fact, the black people, especially Nubians, made up the majority of the military. But it's just this goes on, and it just kills me because, especially here, it's so easy to know what the truth is. But you know, let's move on because I did bring this up for a reason. I realize this is not comic related, but it is because we go into some more stupidity. Denali?
Oh no.
One quick thing. We all know that Ezra Miller should be Cleopatra, but
He would
I
be a
digress.
wonderful Cleopatra, I think.
Absolutely. Oh, he would
I
be.
digress.
Oh my god, he's the perfect choice. Do this now.
Yes, he is
Ezra
wonderful.
Miller is Cleopatra. It's time.
He's wonderful as a duck.
It is
I thought he was a
time.
It
great
is
duck.
time.
It is. Yeah, why aren't they fighting for Ezra Miller? He's a Jew too, isn't he? Pretty sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's gotta be.
Well, I'm just saying he kind
That's
of
our
looks
new
like one,
campaign.
and
I'm just saying the nose knows.
the nose knows. But the reason I brought that up was because it ticked me off personally. But it also lays into what we see going on here today, and we're just getting more of the same. This is the same type of thing. Go ahead, Denelli. Tell them about this wonderful, absolutely horrific woman we're seeing in front of us.
Gail Simone chastised Mike Barron for perceived Comicsgate affiliation, more or less.
Well,
Basically, yeah. Basically, she's like, saying, "Oh, I didn't know you were in that crowd." And just the other day, you were asking for a blurb on my book and stuff. And
mhm, mhm.
Mike Barron's Mike Barron. He's like, I'm going to associate whoever I want to be, and I'm going to be polite about it.
Yeah. As we're going along here, guys, yes, and Jordan says he met her last night and she likes KFC. Okay, thank you very much, Jordan. But just keep in mind, guys, if you hit that share button and let people know what we're doing, get as many in here as we can. But here's the thing: we're
I
going to go
wish
through.
for more viewers.
Yeah, well, we're going to read some of these things right here, and we know that Mike Barron was a guest on this show. It was a great interview. I had a wonderful time talking with him, and he
One
was
of our
very
best.
informative.
One of our best, I
One
think.
of our best, and it was very informative interview. I believe I saw him on Mike's channel. Um, Maybe he was on Edwin's or Ethan's as well. I'm not sure. But
He was on EBS a couple times.
Oh, there you go. So that's where she's getting her information then. But we know that he's not dissimilar from us. He has very similar opinions. He's old school guy, and he doesn't like what's going on. He doesn't like stupid politics that's going on, just like the rest of us. And that has nothing to do with his political leaning, because I don't know what his political leaning is. I'd imagine he's probably a little bit liberal. But what he was talking about is the same thing we talk about. It's not political. It's just we don't want politics in the books. We want for fun. We want good storytelling. We want one shots. That's one thing he talked about. I thought was really cool, talking about the having more one shot comics, really good one shot stories. And I agree with him. We all did. But let's get into this here and let's take a look at just the absolute geniuses that have opinions. Because Gail Simone has spoken, and you will do as I say.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, here we go. Gail Simone.
All right.
Mhm.
Would you like me to do a Ghost Simone?
Yes, please.
Okay. I believe comics are for everyone. There is no excuse for harassment. There is no place for homophobia, transphobia. Excuse me. Transphobia, racism, or misogyny in the comics criticism. Also, this chicken's delicious. Max Visage writes better than that entire group on their best day.
Oh well, my.
Oh,
Now,
good
first
chicken.
of all, I think all of
Yeah.
us agree with that statement, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Um,
No,
excuse for
I love.
asking.
What are you talking about? I wanted all sorts of sexism, homophobia, transphobia, racism in my comics.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Sarcasm
yeah, sarcasm.
for those who don't get it.
I
That's
do.
for villains.
It is. That's right.
Yeah.
Mags Astargio writes better than the entire group on their best day, and I'm not gonna go and pick on Mags anymore because I feel sorry for him, her,
Yeah, it's just
whatever.
that's
But
just punching down at this point.
this
It's
is
just
a
brutal.
it is, but this is a really really silly comment. Mags Astargio was a very poor writer on her best day. That's
So this is her argument. Her argument is that comics are for everybody, and without all
yeah,
this stuff in there. I just want to point that out. Right, we agree with that.
we do.
And when we say everyone, that also includes us.
Yeah, it does, but
Just
not from her
yeah.
point of view because we don't count. Because as you will see, we're nothing but a bunch of white supremacist nationals.
Right,
If you
because
know
I'm a
that.
man, which makes
Hmm.
her some form of sexist.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and my mic got better all of a sudden because I banged it in the side. So maybe that's what it needs is more hitting.
Oh, sweet.
Hmm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
seriously, why aren't more of these? I'm sorry. What am I doing? I have to have the master do it. Booster, go ahead. You are Gail Simone.
All right. Again. I am Gail Simone. Seriously, why aren't any of these people clever? I also mm, wonder why are there so few actual writers in Comicsgate. It's pretty much one actual writer, quite a few talented artists,
Wow.
but the writing pool is just an empty bird pod, and man does it show.
Does it? I see. So Chuck Dixon is nothing. Mike Barron is nothing. James Hudnall is nothing, et cetera, et cetera. Um,
She has something of a point here. There are a lot more artists in Comicsgate than writers, and I do
it's
wonder
true.
why that is.
Well,
I
because
mean, I'll give her like one little point. You know what I mean? Just one.
no, you're right. It's because it's much harder to get into the comic book industry as a writer than it is as an artist.
Yeah, and the writers are keeping their heads down
Yeah.
basically, and they're still writing for other books while like Chuck Dixon, who's also writing, over here. Which, by the way, Trump
Mhm.
Space Force is a riot. It
Oh, that's
really,
good.
I laughed so much in the first 2 or 3 pages of Trump Space Force that I put the book down to save it, to continue laughing. And now I'm going to pick it up again and read more pages and laugh some more. I wouldn't normally do that, right? I would just flip through,
Yeah.
you know. So I digress on that point. But and she does have a little bit of a point here about the writers, but we also had, dare I say it, we also have few Comicsgate books out, and there's still more in the works.
Yeah.
Dare I say, Tales from Beyond the Gate.
Oh, yeah.
I think they don't know what's coming.
I hear that one's gonna be
They-
okay.
yeah,
Well,
Gail Simone and the rest of them don't know what's coming. With all of a sudden, we're going to see books coming out, hitting the Indiegogo, getting in people's hands, and there's going to be some stories here that that people are going to be amazed at the creativity,
hmm
what heroes do, villains do, and they're just gonna turn away from the mass writing that's going on in Marvel and DC, and flock to the new stories that are coming up.
I think so. Yeah. And just real quick over here, of course, I Jordan has many opinions about Cleopatra, which is nice. Vailnid is here. Hello, Vailnid. The Burning One is here, and he says, Jello. Well, Jello to you. Nick W says, Raven should play Cleopatra. Why not? I Jordan says, Gail, love stars in my eyes. I met her last night. He's going on about his chicken thing. It sounds like fellow. He says, it's Gail Bane. KFC, yum, save me some. Nick W says, is that Gail Simone? Eric Esquivel's friend. Mags Visaggio is a beautiful man, I guess. The Burning One says, I have just learned the term gypsy is offensive. I know it's not related, but I just thought I should share that. Well, I
I just
don't know
learned that
why.
today.
I mean, gypsy kind of covers anybody who lives that kind of lifestyle. There are
Filthy
Roma
gypsies.
or Romani type gypsies. There are Irish travelers. There are,
They call themselves gypsies.
and they do. Yes, yes. Jiminy Cricket says, I noticed she says nothing against man bashing, misandry, and political hatred. Mags is a very confused man. Yes, that's true. Okay. Um, let's see. Trusty Sidekick is here. He said, hello, gang. Well, hello to you. Nick W says, oh, Gail, we are clever enough to know you were not hired based on merit. McCrank says, if a writer isn't an artist, they can't make a book without an artist. If an artist isn't a writer, they can still make the book. This is true. But this goes on, guys. I mean, take a look here. Um, they all do. Comicsgate has zero to do with comics. It's a YouTube movement. Okay, well, a YouTube movement that is producing actual product. Hmm.
I had I had a point on the last one about being clever.
Hmm.
Part of that's the YouTube movement. And here she goes ahead and addresses it. To be clever means also being creative. It means having wit and all these other synonyms.
Hmm.
That's what the YouTube movement is. You
Yeah.
see all of these multiple channels, just too many for me to even, think of at the moment. Everybody in the chat, everybody that makes constant memes, right? All these people, they're all clever. And it's growing, innumerable at
Yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she thinks all our videos are really, really sad, which in truth, most of them are pretty funny. But she goes on this
Mhm.
lengthy statement in her Facebook. She's interested in little things. It's obnoxious. She's just angry, very angry person, and she gets very upset because someone, this Cobra Invictus. Do we know Cobra Invictus? Never heard of him, right? Gail Simone banned from all SeaWorld theme parks after she broke into the storage center and ate all the dolphin feed. When Gail was asked to comment, she replied, "Those dolphins are next." Okay. This is a meme. It's a little funny.
It's a
Yeah,
little mean.
it's a little
And I
mean.
know I
It
just
is.
did a fat voice for her, but it's a little mean.
Yeah. You know who should be writing comics? Fat, bitter cat ladies. Ooh, Wenger came in. No idea who that
This
is.
all being said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
just reread a bit of Secret Six the other day to make sure it still holds up, and it does. It's still some of my absolute favorite comics out there. So I just want to point out, Gail Simone has talent,
She does. Yeah.
deep talent, but she is also a British C word.
Oh, yeah, she is. She is. Actually, you should say she's an American C word because you and the British use it quite differently than we do. But now she gets into Mike, and she had a conversation with him, it seems. And Mike Barron says they are, and because she's been saying bad things about comic skaters are this, this, and that, so he says they are, and she says from that single comment, right? It looks like here, and they had a comment, they had a conversation more later, but he simply said this, and she says, "Okay, so this is who you are." Oh, sorry, Booster, go ahead and read that properly. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, this is such absolute C word behavior. Oh, I'm sorry, but this makes me angry. This whole
Concert troll.
okay, so this is who you are as a human being, Mike. I don't want to believe it, but here we are. What a Jewel, C word.
Hmm.
I'm
Yes.
trying so hard not to curse, but I really hate concern trolling, man. It pisses me off. Thinking you could just come along and be like, "Oh, it'd be a real shame if you associated with these people. It'll look really bad for you." Screw you.
Yeah.
Right. The term here being used of a human being is actually, when placed in the rest of that sentence, is trying to demean him, making him less of a human being. That is wrong behavior. That's like that's bullying. That's you never tear down someone as a human being. That's awful.
Yeah, and of course,
Shame on you.
here she is contradicting herself, right? Because she just said she didn't know he was, but now that she does. But then she says in that last year he asked to send a book to my house so I could blurb it. I don't want comic skaters sending stuff to my house, so I said no. Maybe that's why. Okay, so are you just finding out that he is this so-called comic skate, or did you know a year ago? Make up your mind, lady. I mean, honestly, right? But she just this goes on and on and on. Mark, and then ooh, look who has an opinion that he's
All
added,
this is on Twitter, right?
Oh, it's Mark Wade.
and he has an opinion. This absolute little monster who goes around causing all kind of trouble.
I can I can do a Mark Wade.
Yeah, okay.
All right. I think some, maybe a lot of Mike and his peers' return of bitterness and hatred is attributable to refusing to come to terms with the unfortunate reality that every creator, still talented, eventually ages out.
Wow.
As far as the audience is concerned, is that no? Is that too
Yeah,
much?
no, I think it's fine.
A little bit too much.
All right. Yeah. I'm well aware. I'm about the half hour away. They lash out and blame it on liberals for diversity hiring or whatever else is convenient scapegoat. It becomes cultures of hate. The good news is you'll be remembered for your contributions by future generations of readers who haven't a clue why Mike Barron was once important.
Yes. Right. But
Wow.
Mr. Wade, this is typical from you. But the simple fact that your first move is to simply say Mike is too old and needs to go into the elderly home, which is in essence what he's saying here, is kind of ridiculous. Especially if we go look back at all the famous comic books that were created by some quite elderly gentlemen. Uh, this is not something that you age out of, Mark. Maybe you should.
You
Unbelievable.
know, prior to this year, prior to me becoming involved in the Comicsgate movement, I really didn't know who Mark Wade was
Neither
because
did I.
I had checked out, right?
Mhm.
But I did know of another Mark, Mr. Wade, and that's Mark Greenwald.
Mhm.
So as far as people not knowing who you're going to be later on, there's a way to actually be remembered, and that's creating good stories for the sake of good stories. And we remember Mark Greenwald with dearest in our hearts.
Yeah, sure. And
Thank you.
it just keeps going on. And it's just typical. Don't know when to shut up, and people are starting to respond. But the thing is with these people, they they're very similar. Um, well, let me not make that analogy. They are the type of people who will come up from behind you, hit you in the back of the head with a baseball bat, and then scream when you turn around and smack them in the nose, right? This is who they are. This is their tactic. This is what they do. And we all know that the one who hits back is usually the one that gets the foul, right? And that's what's been going on for quite a while. They've been sticking behind this. Now, this Gail Simone, as we have all mentioned several times, is actually quite talented. But this is a horrible human being that uses identity politics every day of her life. And it's sad because, as we said, she is talented. She has no need to do this. You know, it's
And also, I haven't seen her in the same room as Mark Wade.
oh,
I'm just
the-
putting that out
all
there.
right, fine. Chronos Chiron says, Chester, did you hear about Disney claiming a Vader fan film? It had 6 million views. Yes, I did hear about that, and that is an absolute huge mistake on Disney's part. That little fan film from what's it called there, Janelli? What's that?
Star Wars theory.
Yeah, those guys. It was wonderful. Really good job. He went and got permission too. This wasn't like something he just made. He actually talked to Lucasfilm. He didn't monetize it. None of that, right? But
And he
Disney,
and he spent $100,000 for that film.
he did, yeah. And just out of the love of it. And then Disney comes in and claims that. That's not going to go well for you, Disney.
Manually claimed.
Yes, manually claimed. Yes. So I mean, this is not going to go well for you, Disney. Once again, foot insert mouth. What are you doing? But yeah, good point, Kronos. Um, Hi, Jordan says Gail is innocent. She only wants to complain about complain. That's all. hmm Mark Wade will be remembered as the Dan Rather of comics. Ooh, a dishonest jackass who threw away his reputation and the respect of fans in his insane attempt to destroy those he saw as his enemies. Hmm. And of course, as we're continuing with these thinking, this doesn't end here with Mike Barron, who is under attack, but to be honest, from the attitude I've heard from Mike Barron, I don't think he cares. But we're also seeing our buddy Peter coming under attack again. Denali.
Alterna Comics accused of supporting white supremacy due to neutral comics gate stand. Basically, he's being polite and being professional in customer service,
hmm
and that's bad. Apparently, I didn't know having good customer service means you're a white supremacist.
Well, you should have known that, seeing as you're not even a white guy, but you should have known that.
Nope.
That's your fault.
Yes, master. Yes, master.
There you go. But once again, the white supremacist things come up, and the ironic thing is in this incredibly faceted group that is been thrown under the umbrella of Comicsgate. We have what you would call actual diversity. Men, women of all races and age and gender and sexual preference, etc., etc., etc.
Religion, philosophy,
Religion.
yeah.
Yeah, we've met all kinds of people, and you know what? We get along because we're talking about comics, something we love, and that is what unifies us. These things that could divide us don't, because that's not the point, right? But here they go on about this white supremacy thing again, and it's just it's their typical thing. That's all they know how to say. And poor Peter, man. I mean, look at this guy, Angry Thor. No one in Comicsgate cares about the comic book shops they all cry about. If they did, they'd try to get their comics into those stores, not Indiegogo. But they want money from suckers, which is Comicsgate people. And then Jackson
Oh,
Starship,
someone missed the memo.
someone did, but Jackson Starship has a pretty good point there. Why don't you go ahead and read that, Denali?
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact whenever these independent comics try to get in the comic shop, the left wing scumbag bully shops into not carrying those books? I mean, did you not see what happened to Alternative Comics? Are you kidding me?
Yep.
And here he comes with the memo. That I was just talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Or how about Mark Wade with Jawbreakers? Hmm. Or
Mm.
how about, that comic store that was so prevalent a couple months ago because they refused to give the customer what they wanted and
Oh my
yelled at them.
god.
But they went
This
out of business.
this
Let's remember
freaking
that.
guy.
Yeah, no, it's
Oh,
ridiculous. I mean, the fact that he's simply being neutral and professional, which is what you're supposed to be, right? Especially in his
right.
position, he's a publisher, right? He should be very neutral. His point should be: is the story good? Is the art good? That's his job. It's not his job to
Just
care about your politics. Matter of fact, he shouldn't, right?
uh, I mean, the lack of self-awareness. This guy was just talking about left-wing bullies, and what does he do? Use all
Bully.
their talking points. Well,
Yep.
don't
Yeah.
support white supremacists. You're an idiot. You have zero self-awareness.
Yeah. Because simple fact of the matter is, I'm going to ask you guys an honest question. In your life, have you ever met a white supremacist?
Oh,
No.
just the once.
I think I have. Yeah, well, yeah, probably just once. Yeah.
I don't
Just
think I've ever actually met a white supremacist. Now I've met
I know
some.
him because he is me.
Oh, that's right. Okay. The joke continues.
No,
Um,
no. I have
uh,
never met a white supremacist
neither
in my
have I.
life.
Yeah, neither have
And
I.
people, you always hear people make some I don't know, little accidentally racist comments or something along kind of benign, like, oh, do you think it's just something those people do, just stuff like that, right? But someone who legit says, oh yeah, no, I think we should just execute all the brown people. Never.
Yes, and
It's silliness.
and of course we
These
are
people
assuming
hardly exist.
they don't. There's not many of them. And
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I've met actual racists, actual real, bona fide racists, and basically though they still kind of just keep it to themselves. That's just it's a personal opinion to them,
Hmm.
but it's not something that affects the greater world, the business and stuff like that. They keep it to themselves. They make jokes and they make comments, later, just
Yeah.
amongst their friends.
Well, I
You
mean,
know,
I've met racists too, but they just weren't white. As well,
then there's that as well. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Now, are there white supremacists? Obviously, we know there's about a little under 4,000 KKK members worldwide. So there you go. You have 4,000 whatever number of KKK worldwide. Those guys are full-on white supremacists. But there just isn't really a lot of them. It's certainly not widespread like they say. And the thing, and of course, we're talking about white supremacy as in the negative, kill, destroy those who, or remove those who are not the same color, therefore white, whatever that means. Of course, white supremacy could be seen in another light as well, but obviously that's not what we're talking about here. But they just love throwing this out, and they don't even bother to take into account that you do realize that Peter Simeti is Asian, right? I mean, did you guys notice that, or they just miss it? I mean,
Just imagine an Asian white supremacist. Like, these people are silly. Do they really think that there are just black people and Asians that are so desperate to be in the good graces of the whites that they would talk white supremacist talking points?
mhm.
Do they actually believe that?
Yeah.
That is crap. That's silliness.
See, I'm still not sure exactly what white is supposed to be anyway. If it's Caucasian, well,
White.
it obviously isn't that because that would include Indians in Caucasian. So it's not that. So what do they mean by white? Just the Celtic people? All the various Celts, the Gallic Celts, the Gaelic
The
Celts,
color
the
of your
Nordic
skin,
Celts,
Chester.
Slavic Celts. But yeah, but I
Well,
mean, Italians are
you
They're
white.
know where the
thinking
term, you know where the
they
term
don't
comes
care
from.
about skin deep qualities.
Well, I'm just saying, Italians,
Their
are they
thinking
part
is
of it? Are
simple.
Italians white?
I think when they
Of course, they're
mean
white.
white suprem
Hmm, that is weird. Just because the stream ended, why would this end as well?